Dig into your story and find out why for you it's such, I'm going to use the word crusade.
I had 3 really big financial traumas. My parents, they lost their business, which was a hotel, so they lost their business and their home. I then lost the house that I bought at 18 and we went really dramatically bust overnight. And I had to make 400 people redundant. I was 21. I was head of finance of a £10 million company at 20 and I didn't have any accounting training at all. Complete breakdown. Like couldn't even speak for 24 hours. You go and sit on your sofa for a few years and you might feel better in 20 years or so.
Gosh.
That was the prognosis.
Wow. You, Serena Humphrey, walked away from the most consistent revenue stream you'd ever had.
Yes.
Without knowing what was next.
I need to let go of who and what I think I should be.
Serena Humphrey.
Kate Kelly.
Welcome to the Kate Kenny Show.
My God.
Hashtag unfiltered. We're here.
I know. Thank you so much
for
letting me come on.
Thank you for writing to me. And that when I first met you over 10 years ago now, Serena Humphrey that I knew then would never in a million years have written to me and said, I've got a really cheeky question, actually. I'd like to be on the show. And you were already on my list of people I wanted to have on as a guest. Because, A, because of you, B, because of the work you do. I mean, it's one of the most fundamental things that business owners and entrepreneurs need to know about. We're going to dig into your story and find out why for you it's such, I'm going to use the word crusade, it's such a personal crusade and mission. That is totally my own word. That's not a word you use, but this movement that you really are standing for. And that is the topic of money. And we are not talking high ticket sales here.
Nope.
We are not talking add a few zeros onto your price point here.
Nope.
We are not talking about endless hours spent in a boring office somewhere looking at numbers that make your head go somewhere that you're like, how is that even relevant to me? We're also not talking about retrospectively looking back at the tax year that's just happened, for example, and going, oh, whoops. Are we?
No.
We are going to cover a few things in this conversation, including a LinkedIn post that went viral.
Oh, yes. Forgot about that.
Which you totally weren't even planning to go viral and then went viral, which is also to do with money and a very radical decision that you made. But we'll get to that a little bit later on.
Okay.
Let's just start with hello.
Hello.
It's been a journey, hasn't it?
It has, and we haven't seen each other since Scotland. Since the Scotland retreat. And I don't even know when that was.
So that's amazing. I'm running another retreat in Scotland.
I know.
This year. And so that retreat, the last retreat I ran in Scotland, I think was in 2017. And it's 2025 as of time of recording this.
That would be about right, yeah.
Something else I'm going to say before we even dive in is, I'm just going to speak to camera for a moment. If you're watching this on Spotify or YouTube, I'm speaking to camera. If you're just listening to this, hello, just keep listening because I'm going to say it anyway. This is the final interview of the day that I'm actually doing here in London while I'm in the UK. And we've just been told by the studio manager that we literally have an hour. Now, Serena and I could easily sit here for at least 90 minutes. I mean, times
3 hours.
5 or 7 or whatever. Also, we can both speak quite fast when we want to. So we might do a little bit of that. So if you are like me and you tend to listen to things on 2x speed because, quite frankly, there's not enough space or time in the world to get all the information in and all the learning in that you want to do, you can slow this one down because we might just do that for you, right?
We might just.
Serena said to me off camera before we started, she said, tell me if I gabble. I went, no, we might need to gabble because the studio manager is literally going to come in an hour's time. So stand by. I remember literally the first time you and I sat down, we shared a slice of chocolate cake.
We did.
In a place on Nottingham Bridge.
On Trent Bridge.
On Trent Bridge in Nottingham.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And that was our first meeting after the business meeting we met at.
The networking event, yes.
That networking event that I spoke at and we met at. That was over 10 years ago.
It was.
And stand by, I'm going to just drop some things you've done since then in here now, I know. So since then, I've watched you evolve from, actually you weren't even calling yourself an accountant, but you were trained as an accountant way, way, way ago, to truth teller to trailblazer in the world of financial empowerment. Those are my words. Those are not your words, but it is really true. I know that. And more recently, relaunching your business with an incredible depth of focus and mission. For those people just meeting you, Serena Humphrey, lucky them, they're meeting you. How do you describe the work that you do and the mission behind it?
Okay, start with the mission then, because the work has evolved, but the mission has always been the same. The mission goes back to, in my early 20s, I had 3 really big financial traumas. First thing that happened, I always forget the order of these. My parents, who'd always been business owners since I was a baby, they lost their business, which was a hotel. So they lost their business and their home in the early 90s recession, and literally ended up with nowhere to go and nothing in their mid-40s. I then lost the house that I'd bought at 18, and at 21 handed the keys back to the good old Abbey National. I moved in with my parents in their rental. And then the business I was working for, and luckily I had a great job, we'd grown from £500,000 to £10 million in 3 years, and we went really dramatically bust overnight.
Wow.
And so there was no job, and I had to make 400 people redundant. I was 21.
Wow.
Make 400 people redundant, close down our factory, close down our shops all over the country, deal with the bailiffs coming in, taking my boss's rings off her finger.
Wow.
So it was... I'm kind of skipping through that quite a bit, but it was deep, watching my parents lose everything.
Sure.
Me, the house I'd saved up to buy when I was 18 was gone. And then this business that was like a real heart and soul business. We worked there. We worked through the night to open shops because we just loved it so much. It had an incredible energy. The bosses were just so inspirational, and it was just all gone. And it was just all completely heartbreaking.
Wow.
But the common denominator in all those things was money, and particularly the failure of the big business. My parents were a victim, as I was, of the 15% interest rates.
Okay.
Which just meant like what you could afford when they were 3%, you just can't afford at 15.
Sure.
I was living on cereal and cup of soup, because I literally could not afford to eat. But the failure of this business was, it was such an amazing business. And it was literally, we would do anything for it. Like, why did it fail? So on the back of that, I literally decided, go and qualify as an accountant because I need to know.
Okay.
I have to know what happened, because the thing I didn't mention was I was head of finance.
I was just about to ask you, what was your role in that business? I was
head of finance of a £10 million company at 20.
Wow.
And I didn't have any accountancy training at all.
Wow. And I know I said at the beginning of this interview, the studio manager is going to come in, but these stories are so foundational to, I know, why you now do the work that you do. We don't have to skip detail. We've got space. We've got time to go into this. So you... Say that again. The role you were in.
Finance manager of a £10 million business that had scaled from £500,000 in 3 years. I mean, anyone who knows anything would know that is insane scale, and it cannot be sustained.
Right.
Especially that very deep pockets or, the right leadership. There was nothing in place to sustain a business growing that quickly.
Wow.
And it was, when I went to learn to start studying in my first term as an trainee accountant, I knew the answers. Like,
did you?
Textbook.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Overtrading, undercapitalised. There was just nothing in place to allow a business to grow that quickly and survive.
Wow.
But the heartbreak of it was the people, the ideas, the passion, the hard work, the drive, the commitment that didn't deserve to meet that end.
And you said it was super sudden, like overnight.
To be fair, I mean, although I didn't know much about accounts, I was really good at cash flow management. You had to be there. Yeah. And I did predict within a week the day we were going to run out of cash. Wow. But there was a lot of denial from the boss, and he didn't really have any. His words were, finance had nothing, finance don't add any value, all you're there to do is keep us legal. I will never invest in finance.
Wow.
And kind of why he lost the business.
Wow.
So his reaction to me telling him what the VAT was would be to kick the cupboard doors in and storm out in a rage. He once threw a hot cup of coffee across the room at me because he didn't like what I told him about the payroll. Wow. So it was a very difficult conversation to have. And this is part of the work I do now, is in terms of the empowerment and the education around, that came from a real place of fear.
Sure.
A total fear and not knowing, because there wasn't information in place. 21-year-old running the finance team.
Well, and
Hello.
also if you're going to get a hot cup of coffee thrown at you if you give bad news, I can understand also that would...
You stop giving bad news.
Well, yes, that would...
So
incite
when
some
the
fear.
final demand started coming in from all the properties we had all around the country, we had all these big flagship shopping centres, the final demand started coming in. I'm not going to go and tell him. None of us dared.
Oh, really? And there was... How many were in the team? That was a finance team at that time?
I was initially the only person, and then we had about 4 or 5, again, completely inadequate, especially when things were all manual then. Manual cash books. Then, we had Sage on the computers, but
gosh.
it was very much manual.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
under. But he would not invest in the finance team. And, one of the reasons the liquidators gave for, once they'd unpicked everything was just, everything was hopelessly intertwined and there were just no controls because I'd got any accountancy training.
Oh my gosh.
At
What
all.
was that like, Serena? Like for you, I like on the outside, I hear all of like watching that internally, and we know one of the outcomes was I'm going to go and get really good training and really understand this deeply, and that was the beginning of this journey of that will never happen again. But personally, like what toll did that take on you?
For years it was my fault as far as I was concerned.
Wow.
And once I'd studied enough and I'd learned and realised, like, hang on a minute, that was not my responsibility.
Sure.
There were people who were 20 years older than me running that business who were ignoring advice. I mean, these things like, the banks weren't saying, we need a qualified accountant in here. Well, we had loads of debt.
Wow.
We need a proper finance director. No one was saying this.
Wow.
It was, just left to run amok, really.
Yes.
But for years I took that on me that, that was down to me.
Gosh, what was the turning point where that you resolved that within yourself that actually
I think
there were other things at play?
The more I studied, and I think certainly when I left Next to set up my business, I think then it started to realize, like, do you know what? If I'd have been qualified and if I'd have been older, I could have had some different conversations, but would I have gotten through to him? Probably not.
Okay.
Very, very charismatic, but very determined and
sure
single focus. Would he
Yes.
have wanted some? And I think when I went for my interview, he said to me, the lady who just sat in front of me before asked me if I was over trading. Do you think I should take her on? And I go, but he didn't take her on. She knew what over trading was. I didn't.
Wow.
He didn't take her on. He took me on.
Wow.
So did he not want someone telling him?
Gosh, it sounds like a perfect storm.
Yeah.
on all
So I think
levels.
I'm very much at peace with the idea of I couldn't have changed it,
Yes.
except like if I could have got my hands on it, knowing what I know.
Oh my gosh.
What could that business be?
It's like the ultimate case study, isn't it?
Yeah. But what could I have
Wow.
done if that was there now? And
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the now. And I love words you've used about the mission that you're up to, helping business owners build calm. It does not sound like that was particularly calm.
wasn't calm.
Lasting,
Yes.
important word, financial success. And now it's this next bit as well, especially when we come to the entrepreneurial world, which I know we're going to talk about more. So helping business owners build calm, lasting financial success without burnout or chasing shiny promises.
Yes.
Why do you believe, I mean, there are some obvious answers to this, but for you, why is this message so vital at this moment in time?
It's partly personal because I spent the first 10 years of my business doing everything I was told I should do, which was you've got to get to your first million. You've got to scale. And if you don't, you're not ambitious. If you don't, you're not serious. And are you just a lifestyle business? And yes, I'm air quoting. Like Amanda
you are
did
air
earlier.
quoting, that's right. Yes. So
Are
we're-
you just a lifestyle business? And
Uh-huh.
of course, I'm so ambitious, like no one was going to tell me I'm a lifestyle business. So like, of course I'm going to scale because that's what we're told we've got to do.
Right.
That's the only acceptable thing to do if you're in business, unless you're not to be taken seriously. And so I did that, and I ended up burning out completely in my probably 37, like complete breakdown, like couldn't even speak for 24 hours.
Wow.
Total breakdown, admitted to hospital.
Wow.
Ended up being diagnosed with ME as a result of that breakdown and a viral infection I'd had. And I lost a good 2 years of my life where, although I carried on working because I had to, it was often from home and I often couldn't get down the further than the top stair of the staircase because I would just have a
Wow.
panic attack and meltdown.
Wow,
And
Serena.
I had 2 years of just like, completely lost 2 years of my life.
Gosh.
Doctors didn't know what to do. It's like, well, there's nothing wrong with you.
Sure.
Sean, my husband, would be like, get a grip of yourself. Come on, just get, just sort it out.
Not helpful when
Not
you're
helpful.
when you're really
Like,
experiencing
yeah.
that, and it really is a thing. It really is
yeah.
a thing.
And it took 2 years. I got a diagnosis, but they said, well, congratulations. There's nothing you can do about it.
Wow.
And the ME Association said, well, yeah, there's no cure. We suggest you go and sit on your sofa for a few years and you might feel better in 20 years
Oh
or
my
so.
gosh.
That was the prognosis.
Wow. What did you do?
So like, I don't think so.
Uh-huh.
That's not my story. I have to find a way out of this. So I dug and dug and dug until I found an advanced NLP intervention process that basically rewires the stress reaction in your brain. There's like a tap that turns the adrenaline on. In ME, that tap gets turned on permanently.
Wow.
So your body's being flooded and poisoned with adrenaline.
Okay, the whole time.
And it teaches you just to turn that off. It's NLP, it's reprogramming
Sure.
your thoughts, your beliefs,
Sure.
your mind,
Yes.
choosing a different response. And I trained in that. It's a 3-day program.
Wow.
And I was back at work within 2 weeks.
That's amazing, isn't
Yeah.
it?
But just
this
like
is
the
like,
night-
I'm sorry, just go and sit on the sofa for a few years
Yeah,
and
that was
hope you
it.
feel better. Or this 3-day program that you did,
Yeah.
discovered what you could do, turn the switch. And then let me ask you this question, and I'm sure some people listening might be asking this. So you went back to work
Yeah.
differently?
I'd like to think I would have done, but of course not. It was so deeply programmed in me. And not just me, the way, we're talking, what year was that? 2010?
Mm-hmm.
So like, it's like, it's always like, isn't it? But the hustle culture,
Yes.
you've got to scale to be taken seriously.
Yes.
The only way you're going to make money is to scale your business.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's partly that, but it's also that the turning point now, there's a bit of a culture now, an awakening of people going like, I really don't want that shit.
Right.
And what I'm standing for now is, and I've spent 5 years working as a fractional CFO for fast growing, aggressive marketing companies, which I kind of did through, coming out of COVID, because my previous business model kind of like tailed away as so many people did. And although I worked with some lovely people and some great companies, it deeply disturbed my nervous system and my soul.
Wow.
The aggressive growth pursuit and the how it breaks people. And I just came to this realization last August of, I literally cannot do this anymore. I'm going to be throwing away the most consistent revenue stream I've ever had. But
Wow.
I absolutely cannot do this anymore.
Wow. There's 2 things in there. I'm sure there are more as well, Serena. So I am getting a flashback to a retreat that you were at, that I was running. And this was not a Scotland retreat. This was a retreat at a spa just outside London that we both know really well now because we've done a few retreats and things. And you've run retreats there actually since in the past as well now, since we did this first one. And it was the day that you joined the mastermind I was running. So I was running a year-long mastermind and you had just registered for that. And then we'd had a tea break. And then I remember I stood at the front of the room coming back from the tea break and I said, great, now we're going to talk about the voices in our head. And I will never forget the look you gave me because you were sitting there at the end of the table and you were like, are you about to lose me, Kate?
Did I say that?
And I looked at you and I said, it's okay, you've just registered for the mastermind, so it's okay, probably, but don't worry, you're in for a year, or something like that. And you were like, oh. And I remember the look you gave me because one of the things I love about you, Serena, there's many, many things I love about you. You will absolutely always, I'm pragmatic. Like you absolutely want things that are tangible, that will work. Now, I don't mean you're only that because you also have a deeply spiritual side. And I know, now your life looks very different from working crazy hours and you've really reset. You actually took 7 months off. I'm going back to the retreat in a second, but this is when you were talking about last year, having that realization, walking away from consistent income. We're going to come back to that in a moment. But back to this retreat way ago. What would that have been? 2015. 2015, she knows. April 20. Oh my gosh, you're so amazing. So April 2015. Are you going to lose me now? Okay. And I was like, well, probably about this conversation. But we had this conversation about voices that go on in our head. And I really remember you because you started very skeptical. You're like, really? I don't know about this conversation at all, Kate. But we went around and we really looked at what are the voices that are running everyday decisions in our business that maybe we haven't even really named. You know, I now kind of call this who's really running your business, or who is really sitting in the CEO seat. And may I share the character that we discovered? It was really interesting. It was a room full of women. And most of the characters that came up, their voices were men.
They were.
And yours, I remember this light bulb moment at the end of the table. And you were like, oh my gosh, Mr. What If has been running my business. Like,
actually, no, mine was Mr. Fear and Scarcity.
Oh, yours was Mr. Fear and Scarcity. That was, thank you for saying that. She
Mr.
was
Fear
sitting
and
there.
Scarcity.
Mr. Fear and Scarcity. Now, with good reason.
Yes, because of all the trauma and all the loss.
Right.
Yeah.
And you had experienced fear and scarcity. That's right. Sorry, I got that completely wrong. I should have asked you that. What was the character that came up, Serena? But there we go. It was 10 years ago. Can I be excused? So
good memory.
that just over 10 years ago, as of the time of recording. So yeah, Mr. Fear and Scarcity. And this light bulb moment came on and you were like, oh my gosh, every single day, that is what's running my decisions. So I could ask you questions about that, but let's fast forward to what you just said, which is that there came a moment.
When I knew.
Mr. Fear and Scarcity, where you, Serena Humphrey, walked away from the most consistent revenue stream you'd ever had.
Yes.
Without knowing what was next. This is very unusual behaviour for the Serena of old 10 years ago. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine like showing her now this is what will happen in 2024?
Yeah.
Mr. Fear and Scarcity would have had serious words about that.
He would.
What did that decision demand of you, Serena, and what was on the other side?
Well, you mentioned spirituality. Now, we go back to me in 2015. I was extremely left brain, practical, accountant. That was the only part of me that was visible.
Right.
And it was that retreat program that actually found there's this whole other side which was creative and was soul-led and was heart-led and didn't want to be. In fact, I've got a little prop to show.
You got a prop? Yes, please. It's right down by your foot there, I think. So if you're not watching on video, Serena is lifting.
So well.
Has retrieved a spiral bound notebook.
This is the very first journal I ever had.
I remember that.
And I got it because of our retreat program. It even says the word Kate on the front. It's all a bit faded now.
And it's got the date on the front of it, which is how you know it was April 2015.
I've got a card from you.
Oh my gosh, it's got.
I've got your old landline phone number.
Oh wow!
And there's a line here of I need to let go of who and what I think I should be.
Wow!
And that was the turning point of me letting go of who I always thought I had to be, the accountant, the rescuer, someone that my parents would be proud of.
Wow.
By being academic, by achieving. It all had to be about achieving.
Wow. And I remember that another moment it wasn't that retreat, it was, was it that one where maybe it was that one there was a moment you came into the morning session and you looked like you really had something on your mind. So I was like, Serena, what's going on? And you were like, I've just sat up and last night I wrote a newsletter. You remember? Was it that first retreat or was that, I can't remember
It
which.
might have been a bit further on, the second or third.
Might have been like the first mastermind retreat or something. And you said, I've written this newsletter, but I don't know if I can send it. Because you really were finding your voice. And what you just read out, the turning point, who I thought I should be, I need to let go of. Like, it's time to let go of it. And you'd come to that morning session and you were like, okay, I've written this newsletter. And then what I've written at the end of it is, by the way, we don't do accounts.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
And you're like, I don't know if I can send it. I don't know if I can send it. And the group of women around the table like, send it, send it. We didn't actually chant it at you like that wasn't some weird kind of scene. But it really, we could hear the truth of what you were speaking. And you're like, people always think I'm just an accountant or I do this. And I do so much more than that. And that is not my mission. And then I remember the moment you actually pressed send. It was scary, wasn't it?
So it's letting go of an entire identity.
And what happened? You did press send.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
It was a really good reaction to it, wasn't there?
Yeah, you got a really good open rate.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think it was the highest.
No, the headline was actually, I don't do accounts.
Shock,
like
horror, because that's what so many people thought you did.
Because by then, obviously, I'd sold my management accounting practice, and I was now working on my own, finding my way, not really quite sure how to execute this mission.
Yes.
And very much lost in this left brain dominant, aggressive hustle scale culture. Yeah. Kind of part of my life.
Yeah. I remember one more thing you shared about that experience was that your dad, who'd been reading all your newsletters, but up until that point had never actually commented on any newsletter.
God, I'd forgotten that.
He wrote to you, didn't, or rang you, I don't know.
Emailed me.
And said, now this is great. Or I'm paraphrasing
something
his
like
words.
That. Yeah.
And you were like,
he noticed me.
Right.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. And you've gone from strength to strength in terms of finding your voice, speaking your truth. So back to this point where I can't stay in this world that even though there's consistent income, my nervous system is not a happy bunny here.
And I went on a sort of spiritual one-day, not retreat, but a day in London with a coach called Caroline Britton. And again, not quite out of contact for me. I've been more and more interested in universe and trust and knowing there's something out there more than just what we can force through with our brain. Yeah. And I went on her program. I'd already got this idea that I had to do something different. I went on her program, like, I have to stop doing this work. Wow. I just have to, and I don't know what it looks. I know that I've got to get back to my mission and I need to step that up and do it in a much bigger way. But I've lost my voice doing this work. I'm 8 companies CFO. Wow. I'm stretched to breaking point. Yeah. They're all on an aggressive scale and exit path. Wow. And it's not for me. Wow. This is not who I am, and I can't keep going to board meetings pretending that it is.
So what did you do?
I started winding people down. I made a decision that I was not going to force out the new model. I was going to wait for it to come to me.
For this new whatever it was that was going to emerge that you didn't know what it was.
And it's September. I thought, right, until Christmas, I am not going to do anything.
Now,
I'm going to wait.
Know you from old. That is not how you operated in the past.
It would be like, right, big bit of paper. Do you remember we had that big roll of...
I do, yes.
Big roll of...
Wallpaper. Yeah, it was like blank wallpaper on the back, and we were writing and we were doing the plan and setting everything. It was always like Mr. Fear and Scarcity, who we talked about earlier. I love Mr. Fear and Scarcity. He needed the plan. He's like, look, no, we're going to get the plan.
But this was like, no, there's something bigger here that I am not going to force out. Wow. It's not going to come out of my brain. It's going to come from the universe. It's going to come from my soul. But I'm going to have to get out of that energy, that scale, hustle, cult energy. I have to get a long way away from that until the new thing is going to come out and for it to be real. Right. I'm not going to be able to trust it until I am out of it.
Okay, so let's go behind the scenes because we've just said that is not how Serena Humphrey grew up. That is not how Serena Humphrey did business, quite frankly. That is not normal behaviour for Serena Humphrey. Okay, so we had a conversation way ago about voices in your head, and now this is entirely radical. Yeah. And you're like, it's September until December. I'm going to allow this to come to me.
Yes.
Whilst
I exit myself from my clients.
So take us behind the scenes. Just, I don't know, in your living room or wherever you sat and thought, gosh, I really don't know what is going.
I oscillated from panic and some days terror to the most deep, quiet, peaceful calm I've ever had in my head and my nervous system. Like, You know, when you get the first falling of snow, and everything just goes silent.
Wow.
I felt that. And the more it went on, the more I felt that.
That's amazing.
And then the ideas would just start dropping into my head. So I just journaled it, I captured it, and I thought, I'm not doing anything with that because it hasn't finished.
Wow.
And there was some sort of guidance. There was something, I believe very strongly that I'm guided.
Yes.
And it's like, I know that Caroline wrote something a little while ago, and it was, her guides were whispering to her, I haven't brought you this far to only bring you this far. And that really stuck with me.
That's a great line.
I was like, I know I'm not done yet. This isn't ready to be created yet. The ideas are dropping down. I don't see how that fits together yet. It's not ready. Leave it.
Yes.
Keep it. Make notes. Don't be silly.
Yes,
capture the ideas.
Totally.
But it's not there yet.
It's amazing, isn't it, when pieces come through, and it doesn't come in a logical sequence. No. It's not like Serena, chapter 1 and finish. Yeah. Turn the page. And now chapter 2. Is this true for your experience too?
Yeah, it's like, just fragments.
Here's the end of the book.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about writing a book. For example, I got names of things that I'm now bringing into existence, but the names of those things dropped in 3 years ago, and I had no idea what they were. Except I knew they felt true, and I, like you, write them down.
Yes.
So many notes and journals and trying to organise systems and all of that. But then, that's the end of the bit, and then you get the middle of chapter 3.
Yeah. I mean, all I knew was I knew the outcome I wanted.
Right. What was that?
The outcome was find a way to not be anything to do with an accountant, not to have to do any CFO work at all. But the outcome I want for my clients is, how do I help business owners really achieve financial security? Like, to the point where I go, like, no matter what happens with my business, I've got money in the bank, I've built my pension, and even if I never sell, because we're sold the dream about sale, but it won't happen for almost everybody. Something like only 5% of companies sell.
Wow, that is a small
And yet we're all
percentage.
told this is what you do. You scale, you exit, that's how you make your money.
Wow.
And I know that's not true for most people. And also, things can happen. Guess what? AI can come out and disrupt your business. COVID can come out and take your business down.
True.
We need to run companies that are so well run, profitable, cash rich, that we can secure our future while we're running them. Which is what I did when I left my first company. You'll remember, which is when I came to you shortly after that.
And this is the first company you were running, not the story you were telling earlier about the first company you were working for. And
this is the first business I set up.
Your first business, yes, that's right.
And where was I going?
The chartered accountant business.
The management accountancy bookkeeping firm. I've no idea where I was going with that.
That's okay. So you were talking.
Oh yeah, not being that.
Yeah,
I knew I didn't want to do that. Oh, but it's the
well.
So what I've done since I left that business, I thought I slunk away from that business, going like, I'm not cut out to lead a scaling business. I had that realised, I know it is not for me. I'm not a person leader. I am absolutely not. Amanda Daly, who you've interviewed before, she's your girl for that. Not me. I'm a lone wolf. I do my best work on my own way. Kind of like have mad, crazy ideas, go and connect the dots, go and do things, set up new things, have adventures. Yes. It's not running a business with people in it. So I thought, well, that's it. I'm a failure. That's it. I don't fit the mould. I will never be a success.
Wow. Because that idea of what success looked like was so strong, which I'm really hearing the theme there of what you read out from the prop, the journal earlier on, which is letting go of what I think I should be. So now here's another level of that. Yeah. That's what success looks like.
And it's so deeply ingrained. It was then, and it still is now, though there is a tide turning against it now. But that thing of, unless you're doing this, you don't count, you're not successful.
Wow.
You're not ambitious.
Wow. Let's talk about that, because you speak out against, and we're going to go back then to what happened and the behind the scenes and what emerged out of it. But you speak out against the scale or fail. I love that you've coined it in those terms. Narrative. that really does dominate the online space, or the space of business, not just, online in terms of commentary, but this is brick and mortar businesses. This is the whole gamut. Yeah. Let's just be really clear. I mean, we've talked about some of this already, but what is the cost of chasing scale at all costs? You've been CFO for businesses doing this too. And what does a healthier definition of success look like?
So, I mean, I'm not saying I'm anti-scale, because for a lot of people that's absolutely the right thing for them to do, and they love it. They're great at it, and they can genuinely build up brilliant cultures with that scale, and they can create massive value in the world, and that is great. So I'm not anti it or knocking it. I'm just saying I stand for something different, and I want to light the way for other people who are secretly going like, I don't want that either, but I didn't know there was a different way to do it.
Right. Beautiful.
And that's what so many people have been coming out to me and saying, oh my God, someone's saying it. Okay. I can do this differently, can I? And still be successful.
Yes. And more, you said the wave is turning. So let's talk about the LinkedIn post that went viral.
Yeah.
Tell us the story of that. I know you didn't write that post going, I'm going to write a LinkedIn post that's going to go viral. You shared a story. You can
never do that, can you?
You can't. I know. If you try to, it doesn't kind of work.
So for my 5 years of CFO work, I had literally gone from writing a blog every week for 12 years to invisible.
Wow.
No blogs. I used to speak. So no blogs, no videos, no speaking gigs. I literally disappeared. Obviously, it was COVID, so everything was really shaken up anyway. Apart from I did lead a campaign to help business owners through COVID. So I ran... I forget what it was called now, the Corona Advice Group, but I had every morning 3,000 people were tuning into me to do a daily live Facebook on what the hell the government were doing now.
Wow.
Just like, I just had this calling, like, I need to step up and lead this because people are scared.
That's amazing.
So literally I was up at like 4 a.m. because the government were changing rules all the way through the night.
Sure.
Like, okay, today... this is what Rishi's doing, which is the Chancellor in the UK at the time.
That's amazing.
And people were just tuning, going like, what do I do today? What's furlough? Oh my God. It was. So apart from that, I had then vanished.
Wow.
Not been to a networking event.
Wow.
So I thought, right, I'm getting ready to launch my new thing. This is beginning of April. I really need to get myself back on LinkedIn, really, don't I? And I had this idea in my head of a post. I thought, you know what, one day I'm going to write this post. And it was a growth accelerator, the good old growth accelerator schemes that.
So this is in the UK. Yeah,
a big government growth scheme. He come to my house one day because we were working together on a number of clients. He said, when are you going to get a decent car, one befitting your position?
Wow.
And it was a brand new Golf soft top.
Yeah.
So to me, it was like, I think
that
it is
was
a nice
your car. So you were driving a brand new Golf soft top. Oh, not brand new, but you were driving.
It was brand new.
At the time, it was when he said that comment.
Yeah, I just bought it brand new.
Oh, you just bought it brand new, and he made that comment.
When are you going to get a decent, as in when you're going to drive, a 50, 60 grand car, and I was like, and he made me feel like that.
Wow. And if you're not watching a video,
made me feel really small.
Serena's doing a brilliant, imagine the smallest space between finger and thumb.
Really patronised, really
small. And you'd probably felt good about buying that car, I imagine. Like, there's your car. And
his exact words stayed with me. And this must have been, 12 years ago, and I bought the car, 13 years ago. And I was so kind of enraged by it, I thought, and I'd normally upgrade my car every 3 years. I thought, do you know what? Just to spite you, I'm not going to upgrade my car because do you know what? It's a brand new car. Golfs don't really go wrong. They can run forever. And I got myself into this new way of making money, which I've been following since I sold my first business of, do you know what? If I just work hard, stash my cash in the pension, build up my cash buffers, I don't need to scale because I know I wasn't going to sell a company.
Yeah, you've decided that.
Yeah, so I decided by not renewing that car and not paying what would be, let's say, £500 a month for a decent car.
Sure. And
then some people spend a lot more than that on their cars. And I put that into my pension instead.
Okay.
And I worked out that when I ready to draw that cash, that would be £440,000.
Wow.
With the benefit of
compounding.
Interest.
Yes.
Yeah, on a fairly modest interest rate. And I worked the numbers like, you're wrong. So I did a big spreadsheet to double prove it.
Wow.
And I thought, do you know what? There's a post in there, I think.
Yes.
So I just wrote this post saying just what I've told you there. And it went global.
Wow. So let's just get the timeline of this really right. What year are we talking where he said, your car, when are you going to get a car that befits you?
2012, 2013.
Okay. So 2012, the post we're talking about now went viral this year,
April.
2025.
Yeah.
So he said that in 2012.
Yeah.
It really, I'm just going to say, it pissed you off.
Did, yeah. So
great
it's really like pompous.
British
and
expression.
yeah.
And you're like, well, I like my car.
Yeah.
And so you decided at that point, right, well, normally I would upgrade every 3 years. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep my car.
Yeah.
Golf's pretty reliable.
I don't need to take out any more car finance.
Right.
I'm going to put that in my pension.
And so you literally ran the numbers because, hey, you're a numbers gal and you can do that.
I ran the numbers in retrospect at the time. It's just like,
you ran the numbers in retrospect. You didn't
literally
run them then?
this year.
Oh, this year
Because
you did that.
Because
okay.
during that time I was going, do you know what? I don't want to or need to play this scale game anymore.
Right.
It
okay.
didn't work for me.
Got
It gave me a breakdown.
Beautiful.
It made me unhappy.
Not beautiful that it gave you a breakdown, but beautiful that you were
Beautiful
clear
breakdown, Kate.
about that.
It didn't agree with my nervous system. And I just like, I'm going to do things differently. I'm going to make really good money and save it.
That's amazing.
Rather than make really good money and spend it to show how successful I am.
Right. So he made that comment 2012.
Yeah.
You made that decision. I'm not going to upgrade my car, which was going against behaviour that you would normally. It was habit every 3 years.
Because if you're going to rock up at a client, you've got to look successful.
Another one, like in the journal, what you should look like.
Yeah.
So you said, nope.
Start rebelling.
Yabu sucks to that. We're not doing that one. Okay, good.
Yeah.
And rebelling
Yeah.
against, and I love this. I love the maverick of like, well, he said that, so watch. I'm not actually going to upgrade my car. I'm not going to do what you think is the thing I should do. And now, fast forward. So you kept the car. The car's good.
Still got my car.
Still got the car.
Still got the car.
Still driving the same car.
Yep.
So 2012 to 2025. Still running okay?
Perfect.
Great. Still in good condition?
Yep.
Excellent. All right. Great plug there for golfs.
Go
right?
golf.
I know. Go golf. Yay. And now, earlier this year, then you ran the numbers.
To put the post together, yeah. Because I thought, I'm sure that what I've invested must be worth a bit.
And the number was 400.
Well, it's 90,000 as at now.
Yep.
But if I say, well, let's say I'm not going to touch that till I'm 70.
Sure.
440k.
Wow, that's
just by not.
incredible.
So I did
By
this post,
not
and it
upgrading.
literally people were piling in from all over. I mean, literally there was a president from a bank in California going like, "Oh my God, I've done the same thing, and everyone gives me so much stick for it."
What?
I get so much pressure from people. I have to hide my car around the corner.
What?
But people piling, going like, finally someone's speaking out against this incessant need to upgrade and spend to look successful. When I'm going like, do you know, if we all stop doing that, we wouldn't need to bloody scale and exit. Because do you know what? You can make your money just by running a great business.
Wow.
And that's the bit I want to teach people.
Okay, good. I'm going to ask you at this point, how do people get in touch with you, Serena, if they want to find out more? So website, socials, tell me.
Because what we haven't talked about is my company name.
Oh, we are... Right, we haven't talked about your company name.
Yeah.
We are going to talk about your company name.
So my company name is The F Word.
It's so great. Is it true you went up against...
I had to negotiate the trademark with Gordon Ramsay.
So Gordon Ramsay,
Yes.
and if you know
He
Gordon
owns
Ramsay,
the
the
F word.
chef who owns the F word
Yeah.
and uses the F word a lot,
As do I.
literally. Brilliant. Oh, we can go. We'll go. Great. We can go off script and unfiltered. #unfiltered. So you actually really had to really be a stand to get that name.
Yeah,
legally.
I had to get lawyers, and we had to go to court, and we had to negotiate with their lawyers. Like, can we have this little piece of it, please? That no one's going to confuse with you, but it's about finance.
And he was already a name at this point.
Yeah.
So you literally went up against
Yeah.
Gordon Ramsay, or rather his company and his legal team, to say, hey, you own the F word.
Yeah.
And for you,
I
the
want a
F
bit of it.
stood for something different.
Well, it's finance.
Obviously. Okay, good.
It could also be
It
something
could-
else
it could be
against the culture.
It could be the
Yeah.
other thing, yeah, totally. So that is your business name. Now I've forgotten where we were going with that question.
Where can people find me?
Yes, let's do that, because then I'm going to ask you more questions
Yeah,
after that. So we're going to.
So I only do LinkedIn again because I refuse to do what I'm meant to do. So I'm not on Instagram. I'm not on Facebook. I kind of am, but just for my friends.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to play that game.
Okay.
I'm on LinkedIn, and my website is thefword.uk.
The F word.uk. .co.uk.
No, just
Sorry,
UK.
.uk, apologies.
Short as possible.
I'm going to just say end interview of the day here. That's terrible. So, okay, let's do that again. The fword.uk.
Yes.
Great. And that, of course, will be in the show notes underneath this episode. And then LinkedIn.
Serena Humphrey.
Serena Humphrey.
Not many of us around, so.
HUMPHREY.
Correct.
Great. Serena Humphrey on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Do not connect with Serena on Facebook or Instagram. She will ignore you.
I absolutely will.
If you'd like to be ignored, try. I mean, who knows? But she's not going to connect with you there. You might just enjoy that for a moment. But yeah, LinkedIn and then the fword.uk.
Yes.
Brilliant. Thank you. Okay. And I highly recommend. So if people go to your website, are you doing a blog now?
So my blog is back. My voice is back. I've got my, I've taken my position again.
Brilliant.
So I'm writing my blog every week. I also have a scorecard where you can actually rate your own business and your path to financial security. So how capable is your business of giving you financial security?
That's huge. And
also,
can people download that?
Yeah,
Is
it's
that
on the
something
website. Yeah,
they can just use. That's for free
it's
of
a
charge.
free tool.
Wow,
yeah.
I
It
highly
rates you right
recommend
across 7 parts of your business, quite detailed.
Wow,
It's actually part of the diagnostic that I do with my private coaching clients.
Beautiful. That's great.
Yeah.
And so the LinkedIn post that you wrote, that was
Yes.
where we started all this from. Do you know numbers? I mean, not
800,000 views across the world.
wow.
So like 5,000 likes, 900 comments.
And really fast as well.
Yeah, really
Like,
fast. It literally
blew up.
blew up. And I was talking to my marketing coach at the time going, I think it's going quite well. There's been like 20 likes already. and I was going like, what's happening? Going like 50, 100, 200, 500.
What?
I was going like, this is insane.
Oh my god.
And it was literally, I for 2.5 days, I did nothing but man that post, replying to the comments. It was literally, as fast as you could reply, there was 5 more comments on there.
Wow.
People from all over the world were going like, oh my goodness, finally, can we stop this consumerism, this obsession with upgrading, this obsession with spend to look successful. And what was interesting about it was I've worked with hundreds of companies over the years. Almost without exception, you drive up, there's the big flash cars outside, you get under the bonnet, you look at the numbers like, that's not who you are.
Wow.
It's the cars are outside to portray an image that is not true.
Is not actually reflected in the actual running of the
Yeah.
business. Wow. Have you ever spoken to somebody to say, need to probably get rid of the really flash cars?
I wouldn't have then, but I do now.
You do?
Because I'm kind of unfiltered too. So people, it says on my bio, I'm blunt and I'm going to tell you what I think.
Amazing.
So if you don't want that, don't hire me.
Amazing. Okay, so who do you do your best work with, Serena? Like dream clients?
In my CFO work, it was all like £3-5 million companies that were scaling. That's not where my joy is.
Okay, where's your joy?
My joy is with the smaller companies. So maybe they're on their own. Maybe they've got a team of 5 or 10, but they're founder run. And it's people who want to do great work, make a difference in the world, but they do not want to kill themselves doing it.
Yes.
They don't want burnout. They want to find this holy grail of, can I run a business and be healthy? Oh, and be happy. Oh, and can I see my family too?
Wow.
Can I have a life?
Yes.
And can I make money?
Yes.
And do I not have to be on this crazy flipping treadmill of scale? And is it
Beautiful.
okay? Is it okay to want less? Is it okay to say, this is enough?
That's
because
a big
I
one.
actually want a life as well.
Wow.
I mean, we haven't mentioned my cancer yet, because obviously that was another thing that came out of all the stress.
So I know if you're listening to this and following the threads, we really appreciate
well
you.
done.
Serena and I both really appreciate you. And that's why I wanted to get the timeline of that car
Yeah.
story really, really right. So yes,
I don't think I'd even relaunched the business at that point. I was literally just about to launch.
Let's do the timeline again. So just before we met, that was when you'd exited the first business that you were running, and you'd done that was clear, that was done.
Yeah.
Then you'd set up the next business, which is the F word.
Yes.
At this point is the F word.
Mm-hmm.
Great. And then the ME diagnosis came.
That was when I was in my business.
That was the previous business.
and
Great.
which is part of the reason why I had this. I had this kind of. I went to bed New Year's Eve and just went, I can't do this anymore.
Wow.
I cannot go back.
Yeah.
And I never did. Didn't go back.
You didn't.
No.
Wow.
I just said, I rang my partner, the business partner, said, look, I need to leave. You can either buy me out or close the business. I don't care which we do.
Did they buy you out?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
But I'm not coming back.
Wow.
Can't do it.
You stood for yourself.
Just knew, yeah.
You really stood for yourself. Okay.
Yeah.
And then how long between that and starting the F word?
So the F word was straight away, probably within 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
And I'd always, the mission had always been there, but it was like how to achieve the mission was always the question mark. You know, where do I have the most impact?
Got it.
So I went into was like coaching and training businesses, but it was very much working within the business, because the massive thing is that small companies have terrible finance support, unqualified, like I was, unqualified finance people doing a job way beyond their capability, harming the company in the process.
Wow.
So I actually had a team working for me, a whole team of associates working for me. I actually had 5 licensees at one point.
Yes.
Like a mini franchise model, and we were going into companies and we were like putting the rigor in, training the people to do what we would do. So rather than we go in and do it, we come and train you. We'll empower you with the skills to do this for yourselves. Right. So we did that for a good up until COVID.
Yeah.
And then guess what? That went.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how was that for you? I mean, Mr. Fear and Scarcity we talked about earlier. How was he at that point?
It was still quite stressful because it's very much project based.
Sure.
So we'd go in and we'd do a piece of work and we'd empower the business and we'd exit. So it was that marketing treadmill of where's the work coming from. But it was we had a reputation and work was coming in. It just came in from referrals. But
got it. And then COVID slowed that down.
Yeah, kind of took it out at the knees really, because people just went into us, like sheer survival mode. In fact, I remember a conversation we had about bananas as we were all locking down, because we had bananas and you couldn't get them over in Rochester.
That's right. I was living in upstate New York at the time. Yeah, all kinds of wild, crazy things. Yeah. That's right. I'd forgotten that.
Yeah, but COVID just wiped out all those kind of discretionary things.
Yes.
People were just in sheer survival mode. Yeah. So I kind of started being asked to come and help companies, and I just ended up with 8 fractional CFO
and
roles.
That was where you moved into that work. Okay.
Which again was very accountancy.
Yes.
Very left-brainy and
fast and rapid growth. And then end of that piece was when you really realised, this is not great for my nervous system. Let's go back.
And it's not who I'm meant to be in the world.
No. Cancer.
Yes.
Where did that enter the picture?
So that was 19.
Okay.
So just a year before COVID.
Okay.
So again, completely random, and again, I believe guided. I've been on a Joe Dispenza retreat. I'm sure you know who Joe Dispenza is. I've been on one of his week-long meditation retreats in Mallorca. And when I got home, there was a letter waiting for me asking to go for a mammogram. Now, this was 2 years before anybody else in my age group or my geographic area got a letter.
Wow.
Yeah. No, 2 years, year and a half.
Sure, yeah, because they come in the UK, it's at 50,
yeah,
isn't
so it came in early. And it's like, and I was 48.
Wow.
And nobody else had got one. So I thought, I'll be fine. Off I go and get it. Get the call back. Like, wow. Callback's not good news, is it? Okay, so go to the hospital, biopsy, all the testing and everything else like that, and more tests and more mammograms and more ultrasounds and stuff. And then they called me back in for the results. And they said, we're just going to bring your cancer nurse in. Like, I think you just gave the game away there then.
Wow.
So it's not a good sign, is it?
Wow.
Luckily, it was really early stage.
Good.
So all I had to have was lumpectomy and radiotherapy.
Okay.
So I escaped chemo. But I know without a doubt that came from all the years of stress, and my nervous system being in conflict with my life.
Yes.
And being in conflict with who I was trying to be, because I thought that's who I had to be.
Yeah.
Because there's no breast cancer in my family, and cancer, as I'm sure you know, is like 93 to 95% environment and only 5% genetic.
Wow.
That's I know, I just know for certainty, and I know that I was being guided, and getting that letter early was because I was meant to get the wake-up call, but I was meant to survive.
Yes. And you have survived, and you're here.
And 6 year all clear.
Beautiful. Congratulations. So, that's really powerful.
But there's that thing of like, when the ME wake-up call, did you take it? Not really.
Let's bring
You're going to take this one?
And with this one?
Well, then of course COVID hit. We went into the fractional CFO work, which was very bad. But then I think came out of that going, just that thing of, I've got to listen to this. This is not who I'm meant to be. This is not what I'm supposed to do with my life or who I'm meant to be.
And that brings us up to September 2024. and this, okay, until Christmas,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do anything. And
Yeah.
that was where we started on this part of the
Yeah.
conversation. As you said, I'm going to let things drop in, and they dropped in. They
Yeah.
didn't necessarily go in a sequential order.
Yeah.
Mr. Fear and Scarcity didn't have his plan all laid out,
No.
which he would have insisted
Mm-hmm.
of back in 2015 and prior to that and since then as well.
Yeah.
And so, and I asked you, behind the scenes, like take us behind the scenes of what that looked like. And in fact, it wasn't just September to December. You ended up taking 7 months
Yes.
of near silence. And you said, I was offline. I wasn't doing all the things I was doing before. I wasn't getting out there. Really to let your next business come through. So still the F word,
Yes.
but the new iteration, the iteration of the business that suits Serena's
Yes.
nervous system,
Yes.
that has Serena working with clients that bring her deep joy, that are actually what you were talking about. Can I run a business and be
Yes.
happy
Yeah.
and be healthy?
And people who deeply want that to be true.
Yeah.
And it's and where now we saying, can I tell a client if they are driving a car they can't afford? Yes. And not only that, with my new work, we look at the whole spectrum. So it's personal finances.
Yeah.
It's their mindset and the belief. Because what I actually realised in my CFO work
Yes.
is that money is not logical. It's this left brain logical thing we've been taught. It's maths, it's spreadsheets, you make your decision. Money isn't logical, it's emotional.
Say a bit more about that.
And when I realised that, it's like, oh my God. So this explains why over 300-400 clients, you can tell them what they should do and they don't do it.
It's
Why?
so true, isn't it?
Because
Wow.
we're deeply programmed financially from childhood, from what we see, learn, believe, observe of our parents or our caregivers. We then layer on that everything we experience through life. So if we're told money doesn't grow on trees, or no, you can't afford that, it all gets deeply ingrained into our program, and that is the lens through which we operate. And then we go on and become business owners. And guess what? We've got a 7-year-old running a business.
Wow. Not the most effective CEO.
No. So
Understatement.
why will CEOs resist putting their marketing in place? Because they're scared.
Or their finance team in place.
Yeah.
Why don't they hire the person that says,
Yeah.
are you over trading?
Yes.
And then ask
Yeah,
the
yeah,
next interviewee, what did you answer? You said you didn't know at that
Didn't know,
time
I was
what
19,
overtrading.
I hadn't got a clue.
So he's like checking that out. But these are the patterns we're talking about here, right?
And it's the deep financial beliefs we hold. It's the reasons why, from a financial point of view, I'm obsessed with marketing, because marketing drives revenue, revenue drives profit, profit drives cash. The number of businesses who are so reluctant to nail their offer, to get their marketing working. And and I know as a business owner, you'll know it's scary. But until you nail it, you're not going to have enough revenue coming in.
The money's not going to flow
But the
in.
reasons behind it, the things I've been trying to, coach my clients on and get so much resistance on, I now understand.
Yeah.
It's the financial beliefs.
Wow. And is the work you now do, so tell us about the new business. Tell us about the new iteration. I mean, the website looks stunning.
I built it all myself.
That's amazing. And that I remember when you posted about that.
Yeah.
It actually, I'm not going to say it was all joyful like doing it, but it felt such a great achievement to just be like, I just want to do this.
It was on Squarespace. I did it myself. It's not polished and shiny, but
Sure.
you know what? I wanted to do it myself, have control over it.
Amazing.
And because before it was like, Sean, can you put me a blog up? Sean, can I change the website?
Yeah, and it's stunning, and it's not just beautiful. It's unapologetically you, Serena.
I had to be. I knew that I had taken the 7 months off, and I had to come back as 100% me. No hiding, no being scared, no being having left brain accountant creeping in. It had to be, because there's another note in this journal that says, I'm nearly 45. I've got 10 years left to make an impact on the world,
Oh
and
my
time
gosh.
is going really fast. And I read that 10 years have gone by. Time is going really fast.
Wow.
I've got to make an impact. So I knew I could not shrink back or hide or be anything other than, what's the bravest thing I can be right now? What's the bravest thing I could say, do? And I just had to do it.
That is an amazing journal prompt, isn't it? Like, for anyone listening right now, what is the bravest thing I could do? What is the bravest thing
And you know where I got that
could
from?
say?
Because one of the journal prompts you gave me. Because I still go through all my Kate books.
That's amazing. You do. I remember being on a call with you once and you were like, look, I'm just going to show you. I've got this is Kate Notebook 1 and Kate Notebook 2, and you had all the Kate notebooks. Yeah.
And I still use that. But it's that thing of, and also, listening to your podcast now is really, again, so amazing to see you back in the world doing your work, because I've really missed it.
Oh, Serena.
So much. Like, how thrilled I was when you came back. But though especially your Kate Kenny Key question last week. I love that, because that's how I did about the business. It's just going to come to me. I don't need to chase. I don't need to chase this.
Yes.
It's going to come to me. So I spent 7 months. Obviously, the last month that was actually pulling the offer together. But so the offer is doing whatever it takes to get business owners get their business working really well, really profitably. Their personal finances nailed, so they're no longer pretending to be this and secretly in debt or spending out of control at home, and getting a real plan. Like, what is enough for you? What do you need for your life? Actually, not forgetting all the scale crap and all the, it needs to be $1 million, it's 2 million, it's 5 million. No, what is enough for you, for who you want to be and how you want to live? And getting people to do that. Because I've done that. I've now, in the years since I sold my business, I just doubled down on earning, not spending, investing, clearing my mortgage, and we're now mortgage free in a dream house.
Yes, I've seen pictures.
No
it's
debt,
beautiful.
and it's and if we wanted to now, we could downsize, and I would never need to work again.
Wow.
I'm going to, because I still want to get more money in my pension and protect that future. But it's business owners who are going like, I want what you've got.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this stuff I keep being told I've got to do. Every podcast is rah-rahing me into and guilt-tripping me into, like, you're not doing this, you're not successful.
Yeah.
Or, everything on LinkedIn. I'm like going, I've got to be I've got to be the voice of, if you want something different, this is how we do it.
Absolutely. And it sounds like, and proof's in the pudding, as it were, you put that post out there, that LinkedIn post that went viral. There are a lot of people who want to hear that voice in the world.
Really are.
And who are saying, somebody actually speaking to me from actions I've been taking, that maybe the people in my immediate surroundings are like, what are you doing? And why aren't you getting on the bandwagon and doing the things that everybody says you should do? And again, back to that first line in that journal that you read out, Serena, about stopping, like letting go of doing the things I thought I should be up to. The business I should be running.
And it's giving people permission, because you've gone and voiced it for them. I have people come up to me saying, like, I feel like I can breathe.
Amazing.
Just reading your website, someone actually said to me, I feel like I can breathe.
Wow.
And I just can let go of, I don't have to go and be that in the world.
That's amazing.
It's okay to say, do you know what? I want to see my friends. I want to see my family. I want time to go to the gym.
And not only all right, it's really important.
I want time to walk, and I want time to walk by the river and go and see my parents and cook and not feel like I'm failing, or I'm not a success, or I'm not valid, and I'm not enough.
Yeah.
So, like, you're enough, whatever you choose, but make sure it's what you want, not what somebody else has chosen for you.
That is so powerful. And if you're not connected to Serena on LinkedIn, I highly recommend it. You are posting really fantastic stuff on there, Serena. Really. And
another act of bravery every day.
I feel that, and I hear that, and I'm really proud of you doing that. And honestly, I really mean that from my heart. If you're not connected to Serena, do go find a Serena Humphrey on LinkedIn, because the things you're posting, I mean, there's that one that went viral that we talked about, but also this way of doing business that actually suits your nervous system and your nervous system, Serena, in the business you're creating, but also the permission piece to say, not only is it okay, it's actually really important. Yeah. Deeply, deeply important.
And you can still have financial success and have a great life this way.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be that scale. Yeah. What a relief. I can do that without having to buy into that stuff. And if you do, that's great. I'm not knocking it.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people who don't want that, and that's okay. And that we can still be a success.
Yes, and a great place. So follow you on LinkedIn, but also that financial. The the
financial scorecard.
The financial scorecard. If if that's your thing and you feel like just go do that, because that can give you a really clear
and
picture
there's a really
well.
detailed, obviously it's me, really detailed report and recommendations on the back of it, tailored to every response.
Amazing. And if not, then do that, and also the LinkedIn, and just read, because you keep dropping those gems in. So the studio manager that we talked about at the beginning of this podcast just walked in a couple of moments ago. We did a good job, I thought, of not both being like, oh no, we've got to stop. Ah! So we're on the final question.
Yes.
I'm sure he will be relieved off camera to hear that too. Okay. This is a question. You've listened to the podcast.
I have.
And thank you for your lovely words about it. I'm glad to be back too. And I really thank you, Serena, from the bottom of my heart. Over the last 2.5, 3 years, we've stayed in touch. You've sent me the most beautiful voice messages, texts. I've written some of them down. I keep a little book of things people write, and you're like, okay, we need Kate Kenny's voice back in the world. I know you're taking your time, but when are you coming? And meanwhile, all these things are dropping in. So you've heard the podcast. At the end of every single episode, I ask a ritual question. So Serena Humphrey, it's your turn now for the ritual question. You'll also know that some people like to close their eyes when I ask this question. You can ask me to repeat it if you like as well, whatever feels good for you. So, Serena Humphrey, are you ready? Serena, when everything else falls away, expectations, fear, resistance, what does your soul whisper is next?
Two things. One's business, one's personal. Personal-wise, it's saying it's okay to relax and trust, because it's going to be okay.
Wow.
Because even though this is my new business, there's still all the angst of launching something new and trusting it's going to work.
Sure.
And on the work side, it's just you haven't come this far to only come this far.
Is that quote again?
Because although I have a limited number of client spaces, the impact I want to have is huge through my writing, and I'm doing lots of video work and things like this. So yeah, it's okay. It's okay to be now and relax and trust it's going to work.
Yeah.
But there's work to be done.
Beautiful. I can feel the real groundedness in that too, both.
And I'm a very different person to who you first coached 10 years ago.
Absolutely. You are. You are hugely, and testament to you. And it really feels like,
you.
Well, both of us. You did the work. I can't be a great coach if people are, well, I could be a great coach, but it's people really taking it on. And you did that in spades, Serena Humphrey. I'm thrilled to know you. I'm glad, so grateful to be sitting in the same room with you.
Me too.
And one of my favourite things to say is ...
Indeed.
To be continued. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. I am so grateful we got to spend this time together. To instantly know about new episodes dropping, be sure to subscribe to The Kate Kenny Show, #unfiltered, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. And if you enjoyed this episode, do please leave a review, especially if you listen on Apple Podcasts. This will help more people access what's shared here. If you really loved this episode, take a screenshot on your phone and share it on social media. Tag me at @TheKateKenny and I'll be sure to reshare your post. Remember, when you dare to go unfiltered, everything changes. Thanks again for listening. Keep shining that bright light of yours into the world, and I'll see you next time.